guys, it's Tiffany with Mud and Mascara, and we have got 24 pounds of chuck roast, and we got them from our local butcher, which is TNT Meats right here, and I really like them a lot. Make sure that y'all are checking with your local butchers if you have them, because right now chuck roast at Sam's is I think it's about $9 a pound. It's over $8, between $8 and $9 a pound.
For a 10 pound is almost $30.
Right. This was $7.49. $7.60 a pound. So it was pretty much $1 cheaper to go there, and it wasn't because we bought it in bulk. It's you could get it a pound of meat from him. I really like them a lot. So make sure you're checking with your local butchers in your area to see if a lot of them are locally owned, and their prices are really good compared to the big box stores. All right, so 24 pounds of meat. We're gonna see how many jars of beef stew we can get out of this, because we eat beef stew a lot in the winter. It's a super easy meal that is in a jar. You can heat it up on the stove or throw it in the crock pot, either way. So the first thing I'm gonna do is cut this thing open, and remember, if you go back and look at previous videos where I'm canning meat, I tend to do them, you know, a little bit at a time. So probably the same deal with this one, because I don't want to chop this whole thing up and not have, you know, have excess cubes. I'd rather make a roast out of the excess if I have excess. So we're running both the canners again today. The 921, which is a single stack for quart jars, and the 930, which is a double stack for quart jars. So we will get 21 jars on the first run. And because this is quarts, this is going to be canned for 90 minutes. And I'm on the struggle bus here trying to get this wrapper off.
Just cut it.
And I know for sure that I'm gonna get 21 jars out of this. So I'm gonna take a big chunk of this and go ahead and get started cutting it up. And once I get it all cut up, I will bring you guys back and we'll start loading the jars. Okay? Okay guys, we're back. And I wanted to try to get measurements for y'all, so I did one jar alone. So your jars are gonna look like this. Quarter of the way, you're gonna have your beef, your potatoes, carrots. Now this one we're putting mushrooms in. Some of them we don't put mushrooms in because Jamie doesn't like mushrooms. So, but James and I do. So the way I measure the meat is in this type of glass. It is exactly this much meat. And we've already cut all this up. And let me show you something. You're gonna need some of this fat in here. It makes it a lot better. So I'm gonna use a couple of pieces of fat, and then the rest I'm gonna load with meat and fat, because I did put.
And these are cubed and about 1 1/4 inch cuts.
Yeah, James cubed it up, helped me cubed it up. Cube. And so I'm just filling it up like that. And then I'm going to put it in my jar. Roughly I think this is gonna be a little more than a cup though. And then take your debubbler and you wanna push your meat down in the jar, just like so. If you are, I thought about this a minute ago, because I'm always thinking about, not really thinking about, but I know that Tom is keto, and if you're on keto, you can omit this, you know. So I thought about that. You could still can your own beef stew. You could do it with just carrots and extra vegetables if you wanted to. Okay. And I'm not putting any seasoning in this. I will season it whenever I bring it out to cook it, because there's going to be a lot of flavor in the fat and in the roast beef itself. If you want to season it beforehand, you're more than welcome to. You can put salt, you know, whatever, pepper. I just like to season when I'm cooking, okay? So all I'm doing here is making sure that this meat is tight and pushing this down a little. Not necessarily tight. I'm just trying to get enough space for everything to, yeah, this is there, to go in each jar, okay? Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is, these are potatoes from Aldi. I do not, you can use regular potatoes, but they seem to be extremely mushy. So I like these potatoes, and mine, you can do whichever you want to do, okay? So I'm going to put, if some of the potatoes are tiny, some of them are big, so you technically want 6. And if you have a little one, you can grab another little one and throw it in there, okay? So we're just gonna maneuver this stuff around so that it can get in there. And then James is handing me a 1/2 cup of carrots that are gonna go on top. And then we are doing a 1/3 cup of mushrooms, okay? The next thing you're going to do is beef broth. I do my own beef broth, and all I did was open the jars and put them in this container for myself. Because remember, everything's cold. The jars have already been sterilized and cleaned. My lids are here. My rings are here. Cold canner, cold jars. Always. Okay? Hot canner, hot jars. Well, hot jars, hot canner. Alright, so what I'm going to do is pour my beef broth in here, and this has plenty of flavor. I think that's another reason why I don't really use a lot of salt, which I'm not a big canner of salt. All right, so you're going to take your debubbler and you want to go down, because you can see the bubbles raise up because of the air. You'll see the air pockets. See? I don't know if you just saw that. I did. But anyways, you want all the bubbles from the bottom to go ahead and come up. And this one, I may have to remove some stuff, but that's okay. Remember, you want a 1-inch headspace, okay? And you just have to get in there. And you may have to pull a carrot out, or I would definitely leave my meat in there though, because you can always add a can of carrots to this, which I do. This is kind of like a base, and I add a can of carrots, a can of potatoes to it. And let me take a carrot out of this one. See if that will.
Making a mess.
Oh, I just made a mess too. And that's how it goes. All right. So this should be right at 1 inch of headspace. So you're wanting 1 inch of headspace. You do not want it to be down in your liquid. You want it to be sitting on the rim and not be touching the liquid, okay? See this? This is the reason why you want to clean these rims, because the meat is greasy And they've got to be cleaned very good before you even seal them. So I am going to take my vinegar and wipe off my rim really, really well. Very well, actually, because that's, and I think some of the actual fat is from the broth that I made. All right. I'm going to grab my lid. Remember, guys, finger tight. You're going to spin the ring around till it doesn't spin anymore. Hold it and turn it. That's it. Okay? And this is what it looks like. 90 minutes for this jar. 90. You could, if you're one person, you could do them in the pint jars. You're just going to have to lessen everything. Okay? So we are going to finish all this up, and we'll show you when we get them in the, or get ready to load them in the canner, okay? We'll be back. Okay, guys. I totally forgot to shoot the footage where we got all these jars done. This canner is already sealed up and ready to rock and roll. There is 7 quart jars in there. This one has 14. Once again, we're using all Forjars lids on this batch because I think I might be out of them after this. But that's what they look like. Just like that. Okay. So, I am going to put the lid on this one, buckle it the same way as I did in my last video, and cut the heat on. If anyone's wondering why this is out here, it's because I'm not double. This one only does 1 stack of the quart jars. Okay. So, we will be back shortly. But so far, we still have a half of that beef left. And right now, we've got 21 of these jars, and we're going to work on the next 21. Okay? We'll be back. I had to get Mr. C out here to help me. I want you to know that on these All-American canners, there is a wedge right here. And this arrow needs to be matched up to this wedge. I forgot to tell y'all that on my last video. Alright. Alright, guys. First 21 jars out of the canner of the beef stew. Look at them bubbles. Yeah, see that? It's hot. Hotta, hotta, hotta. So, this is the first batch, which was 21 jars. And we're about to go in for round 2, which will be another 21 jars as soon as we refill the water. Excuse me. As soon as we refill the waters and set the canners back up. This time I'll bring you through the process on this one like I did on my last video. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, guys, we're going in for round number 2. So, the small canner, the 921, holds 7 jars. The 930 is going to hold 14. So, we are loading these up, and then we're going to lock them down like we did prior. There went one. I think that was my last one to 10. Yeah, this canner takes a lick and it keeps on ticking, don't it? So, James is putting... Actually, I'm going to grab a few, and we're going to put these in the canner like so. Remember, cold canner, or cold jars, cold canners. Spiderman. Hot jars, hot canners. Okay?
Uh-oh. That's the Spiderman on scene.
Alright. Then we're going to put the ring on this one. Where's Micah? Spider-Man came to check me out. He's going to the fall festival today. And Miguel is Venom somewhere. Tell him, say hey. Love you.
Are you going to go check out the old carnies?
You're going to go get some candy? You're going to go get some candy? Say
We're gonna
Spider
go get
Junior.
some mama some candy.
All right, where's Venom at? Wow.
We gotta find
Show
the
them your
mask.
muscles.
Show them your muscle.
Look at those muscles.
Looks Spider.
I see it.
Looks T-Rex.
Yeah, that T-Rex blows bubbles everywhere.
Look.
Yep. Turn the switch.
To make a bubbles?
Yes.
I don't know if there's any bubbles in there or not.
I think the bubbles are gone. All right, tell everybody bye that you're going to the fall festival.
Bye.
Tell them where you're going.
We're going to my school for a fall festival.
Say, I'm going to the fall festival.
So we're gonna go stick the man for some candy.
Yep, we're going to get some candy. All right, so same thing. We're doing these simultaneously across from each other, just like you would change a tire. Opposite sides need to react to opposite sides. And before I've shown y'all the reason why you want to do that is because you want this gap to be level all the way around the canner. You don't want it to be uneven, okay? And these are all Americans, so it's different than a Presto because I have a Presto. I just use my All Americans because I really like my All Americans.
That's all I got to say about that.
Yep. All right, so we're going to light them up, and I'll bring you back when they start venting, and we'll go over that again, along with showing you simultaneously how to let it vent for 10 minutes, and then how these gauges matches up with this weight, okay? Remember, guys, do your own research. Check your altitudes. Make sure that you are doing your own research. Do not trust me or any other person on YouTube. It's just... You need to know for yourself. And if you can't do your own research, then you don't want to be canning. Okay? Don't just take somebody else's word for it, because it can be a disaster. Alright, that's my lecture for today. We will be back when this starts to vent a little. Alright guys, so the 921 has just started to steam. And I showed y'all in my last video what it's like for a rolling steam. But I want y'all to see, if you possibly can, keep looking right here. It's going to do this and then stop. Do this and stop, okay? This is not what you want, just so you know. You want this to be like in my last video where I showed you it's like a freight train going. You can literally hear it. But what's happened is it has just started. Trying to keep my camera still, but I'm holding it. And what it's doing is it's just kind of spitting out a little steam and then stopping. Spitting out a little steam and stopping. Don't start that 10-minute timer yet. I'm going to bring y'all back in about a minute when it's at full blown and we're going to look at it. Big difference, okay? Okay, it's been about a minute and you can see the difference. See this? I mean, it is blowing. And second of all, if you listen very closely, you can actually hear the amount of pressure coming out of that valve. And that's what you want, a steady stream, just like this. There's no breaking in that stream. That stream will be, you'll need to set your timer for 10 minutes and let this vent for 10 minutes. Okay, this is the smaller canner here. Now my 930 has not come up. It's not even bubbling yet. So sometimes with with the two canners, one will go faster than the other. It just depends. But that's the way you want your stream, and you want to hear that noise, that sound constantly. Alright, so we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes, and we'll bring you back when we put the weight on. Okay guys, the timer went off, and James is about to put the weight on there. Okay, it's on the weight. When you have your weights, hopefully my fingers don't get in the way of the camera, you've got 5, 10, and 15 pounds of pressure. For my altitude where I am, it's going to be on the 10 weight. So you would just drop your weight just like this on the vent. Now my 930 still has not started steaming yet. And they did this earlier. They were about 15 minutes apart. So what's going to happen now is this gauge has got to come up for my altitude to 11 pounds of pressure right here. Okay? When we get to that point, you will see the weight will start to jiggle at the exact time that this gauge gets to 11. Okay? And I'll bring you back whenever we get to that point. And you can see you might can see it is barely puffing out, just a tiny, tiny little bit of steam there on the big canner. So we'll be back. Alright guys, we're on the money. We're just about to be on 11, and you can see the weight right here. We're about to touch 11 here, and they are going to simultaneously go off. There you go. So now the goal is to get the temperature right. And Mr. C is going to do that because I have a tendency to cut it off. So I'm going to have him come over, and you want to keep this gauge at 11 pounds of pressure, okay? So you have to find the sweet spot either on your stove or on an open flame like this to keep that pressure right. Now this jiggler here, or your weight, whichever one you want to call it, should be moving, and it can stop occasionally, but you don't want it, you want it to be shaken 4 times a minute, okay? And it can stop, it can just do it slowly. The biggest thing is this gauge needs to be on 12, and your poundage on your weight needs to be correct for your altitude, okay?
11 and 10 pounds.
I'm sorry, 11. I'm sorry, it's 10 pounds weight. And for our zone where I live at, it's 11 pounds of pressure, okay? So now that we've got this in a steady spot, we're going to set the timer for 90 minutes. Because remember, these are quart jars. 90 minutes. If we were doing pint jars, it would be 75 minutes, alright? And just so y'all know, yes, there is vegetables in there, but anytime you're canning meat with vegetables, you want to go with the highest of your, which I mean, it's in the canning book. It tells you exactly how to do it. But if you're mixing meat and vegetables, you can't set the timer for potatoes, which is 30 minutes. Okay, you have to go with the meat, the protein. So for these, it's 90 minutes for these quart jars here. So when we get to the timer up at the 90 minutes, we will let this come all the way back down to 0. And it needs to come all the way down to 0 before we pull this weight off. Okay? Don't ever pull that weight off at this much pressure built up. Even if you've got your flame off, don't ever do that. Because the jar will crack and it could potentially burst in there. And it's just a big mess. Trust me, I know. So, we'll bring you back whenever we get the 90 minutes are up. And then probably bring you back one more time when we get it down to 0 and show you what it sounds like when you pull the weight off. So you will have just a little psh that comes out, but that's fine. Alright, we'll be back in about an hour and a half. Okay guys, I just want to show you the second, the 930, the biggest canner, has just started, and it's going to be hard to see. It has just started to steam. Right here, you can barely see it coming up through here. So, you can probably see it better from a distance, I don't know. But anyway, it's just started to steam, so we're about to do the exact same process we did with the smaller canner with the big canner. Once this comes up to a rolling steam, we're going to set that timer for 10 minutes. And then put the weight on and bring the pressure up and find the sweet spot and let it ride for 90 minutes. So we'll be back in about an hour and a half or so-ish. Oh, you can see it now. See it? Shooting up over the bush right here. Yep. And so far, these are the 21 jars we've already done, and they've all sealed. And they're all Forjars lids again. So, and that's so pretty. And look, just for me and James, this right here is 21 mils for me and him. Plenty of food for us. Now, if we're feeding everybody, it's 2 jars. So if it's just me and James, we'll have 42 mils when we get done. If it's all of us, we still got 21 mils. So, that's going to be good for the winter. Alright guys, we'll be back. Alright guys, the second one has already vented. And we are almost at 11 pounds of pressure. And this weight is about to go off again. Right. There it goes. It's starting to wiggle. And we are at 11 and 10-pound weight. There we go. So both of them are going there about 20 minutes apart. So when this one cuts off, this one will still have 20 minutes left. 90 minutes on both. Alright. So I'll bring you back when we get them down to pressure. I just wanted y'all to see the second one. Starting to wiggle. There we go. Took it a second. It's right on 11. Right where you want it to be. And that one's still rocking just fine. And guys, don't ever walk away from your canners for too long, literally. Because it can only take them a second to go up, way too far in pressure. Or, just so you know, if they drop down in pressure below your 10 pounds of pressure on your gauge, if you're in that altitude, you have to shut these things off and start all over again. So make sure that you are keeping an eye on this stuff. So that's just kind of a, which I don't really think anybody will walk away from their canner anyways because of all the bad stories. But the canners these days, y'all, are not like the ones from a long time ago. There's a lot of different safety valves. Like here, that would blow out. That one would blow out. I mean, the canners these days are a lot safer than they used to be a long time ago. So, just keep your eye on everything whenever you're canning. We'll do that. Okay, guys, both the canners are done, and it's late. This one's been done, and the pressure's already came down to 0. Okay? And I'm hoping y'all can see this because it's dark. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this weight. Okay? And you can hear just a little bit of steam left. But like I said earlier, don't ever remove that weight when you first cut your oven or flame off. Alright? Now this canner just got done. If you can see, it is just now starting to come down to pressure. So once that one comes down to pressure, I'm going to pull the last of these jars out and get them in the kitchen. And then tomorrow I will clean them up, label them, and I'll show you a final shot of everything. But so far, 42 jars. 42 jars. Quart jars of beef stew. Alright. Okay guys, another big batch of canning done. Beef stew. We did have 42 jars, but we ate 2, so now we're at 40. So, looks good, looks good, looks good. Looks good.